Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. This time, we're taking a look at something a little different. You've sent in so much stuff about the Silence of the Lambs. It seems like you guys really want to go deeper than just the movie.
Yeah, it looks like you're interested in, why it still has this hold on us,
Yeah.
even decades later. It's fascinating.
So we've got this analysis titled "The Silence of the Lambs: Fear, Minds, and Monsters." Maybe we can start there.
Absolutely. It should give us some interesting things to think about, for sure.
Okay, cool. So the analysis calls the film a masterclass in dread.
Mm.
Um, is it really more than just a typical thriller, though? How does it create that fear?
Well, it came out in 1991, right? And back then, a lot of thrillers were all about big action and tons of gore.
Right, right.
The Silence of the Lambs kind of flips that. It's more psychological, it gets under your skin, makes you feel uneasy, and it just builds slowly.
Yeah, it's not about those jump scares. It's definitely more of a quiet tension, like it's suffocating you almost. How does it do that? What are some of the techniques Demi uses?
Well, one thing is those close-ups, especially on Lecter's face. Think about those eyes staring right at you.
Oh, yeah, piercing.
It's almost like he's looking right through the screen, like into your soul.
It's funny you should mention that because the analysis mentions how those close-ups break the fourth wall. What does that even mean for people who don't know?
Sure. Breaking the fourth wall is like when a character acknowledges the audience, like they know we're watching. They step outside the story.
Oh, I see.
In most movies, the characters don't know they're being watched, right? But when Lecter looks at the camera, it's like he knows we're there. And that's unsettling. It's like we're spying on him or he's spying on us.
Like he's in control. He's watching us.
Exactly. And that control, that's a big part of the movie. Like with Clarice and Lecter and that whole quid pro quo thing, she needs his help, but he wants something back from her memories, her vulnerabilities.
It's interesting you say that because quid pro quo feels very relevant even today. Like we're always navigating power dynamics in relationships, at work, online even.
Absolutely. The Silence of the Lambs touches on these anxieties we all have about being vulnerable, about who's in control, who's the predator, who's the prey.
And it does it with some truly unforgettable characters. Clarice Starling, this young FBI trainee, thrown into this really awful case.
And then there's Lecter, right, one of the most iconic villains in movie history.
He's so intelligent and charming, but so terrifying. It's incredible. I actually heard that Anthony Hopkins based his portrayal on a combination of Truman Capote and, get this, a snake?
It's true. He wanted that reptilian feel, that stillness, the
Mm.
calmness. It makes Lecter so unpredictable. And get this, Hopkins blinked only once per scene.
Wow, really? I never noticed that. It's amazing how these little things make a performance so iconic.
Yeah.
Did the other actors have these little nuances to their roles, too?
Oh, definitely. Jodie Foster actually trained with the FBI to get ready for her role. She wanted to understand that world, even went to a gun range.
Wow, that's dedication. What about Ted Levine, the guy who played Buffalo Bill?
Mm.
He was so creepy, so disturbing. How did he approach that?
Well, Levine lost a lot of weight to look gaunt, almost skeletal, and he made his voice higher on purpose to give it that unsettling, childlike feel. He even improvised that weird dance scene. Apparently, the crew was shocked.
So, complex characters, super tense atmosphere, plot keeps you hooked. But what about the look of the film? How does that add to the dread?
One thing is the locations. Like Demi shot in real places like Pittsburgh and Quantico.
Oh, yeah. So it's not all glamorous and stylish like other thrillers.
Exactly. It feels real, raw, so the horror feels closer to home.
Right, right.
And Demi doesn't shy away from the darkness, Like the autopsy scene. It's graphic, sure, but it's realistic, not just gory for the sake of it.
It's effective, though, for sure.
Oh, yeah. They actually used real pig guts for that scene.
Ugh, no thanks. But it's amazing how those little details, the choices the filmmakers made, really affect how you experience the film.
For sure. And it's not just what you see, it's what you hear, too. Like the climax, when Clarice is hunting Buffalo Bill in his basement. It's 6 minutes long, mostly night vision, no music. Just breathing and creaking.
Oh, man, that scene is intense. You feel like you're right there with Khalees. You feel her fear.
And that's what makes it so good. You're not just watching, you're experiencing it. A masterclass in suspense.
Okay, so we've talked about how it looks, the sounds, the characters, the plot. What are the bigger themes, though? What's the Silence of the Lambs really about?
Well, on one level, it's about what evil really is. Can we really understand people who do terrible things? Like what makes someone become a monster like Buffalo Bill?
And Lecter. Is he just evil, or is there something more to him?
That's a question the film kind of leaves up to you. He's smart, but also really messed up. And his whole deal with Clarice, it's so complex. He's like a mentor, but also a tormentor, making her question everything and face her own demons.
You mentioned transformation earlier. What did you mean by that?
Right, so there are all these moths throughout the film, and they represent change, transformation, and also death.
Interesting.
It ties in with Buffalo Bill wanting to create a new self. Like he's literally wearing the skins of his victims. He wants this twisted metamorphosis to escape who he is.
So how about Clarice? Does she change?
Yeah, she starts out all eager, kind of naive. She wants to prove herself in a very male world. But as she digs deeper into the case, she has to face the darkness. Not just out there, but inside herself, too. The screaming lambs she hears, they represent her own traumas, the things she tries to bury.
Right. It's like the film links her personal pain to this idea of good versus evil, predator and prey. It's not just a thriller. It's about being human, the choices we make, the things we hide.
And it's a film that makes you think. It even caused some controversy, like how Buffalo Bill is portrayed and whether it's reinforces harmful stereotypes.
Right. There's been a lot of talk about whether showing Buffalo Bill as someone struggling with their gender identity is problematic.
It's definitely sensitive. Demme always said that Buffalo Bill's issues with gender weren't why he committed crimes, but a part of a bigger mental problem.
So it's complicated. And even now, the film sparks debate.
It just goes to show how powerful it is that it still gets these reactions.
Okay, so it's scary, it makes you think, it's beautifully made, and it's even controversial. No wonder it's a classic. But in a world that's so into true crime, with all the dark details and messed up psychology, does The Silence of the Lambs still have the power to shock us, like it did back in '91?
That's the thing, right? It's not just about being scared. It's about tapping into our fears, our fascination with the dark side of, well, us.
The analysis mentions all the awards it won, too. All 5 big Oscars. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Adapted Screenplay. That doesn't happen very often. Did that make it even more impactful, do you think?
It's hard to say, but I think it gave it legitimacy. Winning all 5 Oscars, it's not just a scary movie, it's art.
And commercially, it did really well, right?
Oh yeah, huge success. Made on a small budget and grossed over $272 million worldwide. It still has like a 97% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. People still love it.
So critical acclaim, commercial success, and this lasting legacy. Why? Why has The Silence of the Lambs lasted so long?
Well, it's brilliantly made, right? The pacing, the acting, the way Demi builds the tension, it's all just so masterful.
And the characters, they're unforgettable. Even now, people quote Hannibal Lecter, "A census taker once tried to test me." It's iconic.
It is. And those lines, they've kept the film alive in pop culture, memes, parodies, even serious discussions about its impact.
It works on so many levels. It's entertaining, thought-provoking, and it looks amazing. But the analysis mentions some people might find it overblown or overhyped. What do you think about that?
I get it. When something is praised so much, there's always a pushback. People feel like they have to agree, even if they didn't like it.
In a film like this, it's intense and disturbing. People are going to react different to it.
For sure. Some might think it's too slow, too dark, or that Lecter is a little over the top. People even debate about Jodie Foster's accent.
It's funny how even little things become such a big deal when a film becomes this important. But all those opinions, they just show how powerful it is. It sparks debate.
Absolutely. It's not a movie you just watch. It grabs you, makes you think, and it sticks with you.
I remember that last shot of Lecter just disappearing into the crowd. And then that phone call. "I'm having an old friend for dinner." So creepy, but so good.
Yeah, like the darkness we saw, it's still out there, hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
But it also shows you can face your fears and come out stronger, even if you're changed by it.
That's the legacy of The Silence of the Lambs, I think. It makes you face the monsters inside and out. It makes you think about good and evil and about the darkest parts of being human.
So as we finish this deep dive, we want you to keep thinking about this film. Does The Silence of the Lambs still shock us today? Or has the darkness it shows become almost, I don't know, normal?
That's a question for all of us. As we continue to explore this amazing film, until next time, keep diving deep.